back to BRIMS Documentation, and this time we're going to cover how you can help. So this is the page menu. Login and logout is operational. However, it's not pulling, page menu is not filling out any data as far as name, the actual logout mutation being fired when that button's clicked. In fact, I think it just throws an error currently. Yep. Other bits, come on, go back. Other bits, specimen. This needs pagination added, which just needs basically a copy and paste of the similar logic from the patient front end logic pull. Pretty straightforward there. The patient info pane, just need to add mutations here and have system source properly pulled in from a graphene backend object. So I think the backend needs to just be adjusted a little bit to put system source in with the query that's being fired. And then these two mutations just need to be added on. That is not that difficult. Print labels and shipping I am handling next. Storage just needs to have something fired, a modal probably fired to actually store the object. So it's basically pull the same view from the storage view that pulls up the box where you can click on an object and have the mutation actually fire. When clicking that in, I might get rid of collect time and collect date here, just because it's usually going to be the same. I think in 95% of cases, it's going to be the same as the collect time and collect date of the base specimen. And I also might get rid of the available to aliquot section, because usually people are just going to want to aliquot as many as they can. So probably just turn this into an actual button that says aliquot and then number of aliquot to create. And then I also need to add a status down below that says kind of the quality of the aliquot when it comes through, because sometimes you aliquot something and it is not the best, particularly with blood samples. Sometimes they clot, things along those lines. So that can be worked through there. Shipping I'm working on next, so stand by on that one. Storage, if this is mostly functional, the only thing that's missing is the firing of the mutation to put an aliquot into an actual slot on the boxes, and a delete storage button, which just needs to do a refetch query similar to the add storage button, but just remove the piece. And I think the logic's already built in the back end for that to be handled properly. If you want to make the generalized logic more simplistic, less crazy complex than I've written it, please feel free to do so on both the box view and the storage view. Draw schedule. Again, I would need to rework if you feel like hopping in, go ahead and rework the back end to not be a JSON object, to actually have a constructed graphene object putting through, and then we just need to add the mutations for adding a visit and adding a draw, specimen draw, and then just doing a refetch query to redisplay everything as it's coming through. And on the patient portion, this I think is basically entirely functional. The system source does come through properly. Search is working properly. I guess the one thing we're missing is a delete patient option, but I'm not even sure that I necessarily want that available, mostly because that would be something that would fire from I'll think about that. Tentatively, I'm going to say that there should be a delete button here, but I almost feel like that would be better left to just direct backend calls through like the admin panel, to be honest, for a variety of reasons. Mostly that patients are created in an external system. I don't think people in the lab are necessarily going to be granted or extended control for deleting a patient. The only time I can think that would not be the case is if a patient needed to be synced. But even in syncing a patient, you can just sync it, and if the sync logic is correct, everything will be just fine. And you can handle everything from deleting stuff in other places otherwise. And I guess the better way to handle that is actually to say remotely, if there is a delete from and this is the portion that's not written on the injector, is remotely, if the patient's deleted, fire a delete function here so that it's deleted. Although we would need some sort of alert within the LIMS system to say, okay, dispose of that specimen, or do whatever the protocol handles. And the thing is that's really the way that's handled is going to vary from lab to lab. So I almost feel like leaving that out and letting people code that themselves. And that is it. Maybe adjustments on some views. I would like a better box view maybe on the storage setup, where you can just see all of the boxes and like side by side and the names that are associated and which ones are filled. I know that some of these systems, they allow you to reorganize. They have functions that let you reorganize your boxes and tell you where to put things. I mean, feel free to write something like that, or if you have another idea of something to add, feel free to add it. But basically, once shipping is done and those few things are taken care of, this puppy is ready to go to see the limelight, hopefully. And that covers it for everything that is in the the BRIMS documentation that I can think of. If there's something that is unclear to you, feel free to email me. My email is associated with the YouTube account. And otherwise, thank you for listening if you made it this far.